You're listening to the Daily Sales Tips Podcast, and I'm your host, Scott Ingram. Today, Jeff Bajorek's back, and he just keeps outdoing himself with these tips. Here he is.
Today, I want to go back to basics with you in your outreach. And I would have thought that this concept was a little too basic until it came up on 3 different calls with 3 different clients in 3 completely different industries today. So I know there's something relevant here for you. Now, you've undoubtedly got a handful of ways that you can differentiate yourself from your competition. Let's say there are 5 different ways that you can make statements that will differentiate you, okay? Something that is going to matter to people if they were engaged in listening to you, except they're not. That's where the outreach comes in, right? So I want you to take those 5 points and turn them into 5 questions. Very, very simple. Instead of making the statement, ask a question that will then allow you to make the statement. Better yet, I want you to turn each one of those statements into 2 questions. Now you've got 10 different conversation starters that will all lead back to something that creates a conversation around how you can differentiate yourself. And that's where sales happen. Now, you've got 10 questions. That's a cadence for you over the course of 12 weeks or a quarter, 13 weeks, a quarter, right? If you can do that, that's a little less frequently than 1 a week, which is pretty much a good rule of thumb for cold outreach. And you can repeat that cadence. I would suggest not automating it, but you have something you can go to that over the course of a quarter, you can touch a prospect 10 different times. By the time you get to the end of that quarter, you can note any progress that you've made or not. You can tweak those questions as much or as little as you need to, and you can repeat that process. You see, after 3 months, if you ask a question again or try to start a conversation again with something that you used 3 months ago, your prospect isn't going to notice. Okay, they're not going to recognize it. You're not going to get stuck as someone who's a 1-trick pony or a 10-trick pony in this case. You are going to be just trying those same questions, those same conversation starters from a different angle. You can feasibly repeat this 4 times over the course of a year and get a year's worth of outreach out of this single thought exercise. Look, obviously you can tweak it from there. You can make it more advanced. You can get into automations. You can get into drip campaigns. You can do all that stuff. But at its core, understand a handful of ways that you differentiate yourself from your competition, and you can turn that into an outreach plan that you can execute on regularly, rather than making it improvisational every time you feel like you have to pick up the phone, which leads to call reluctance and doubt and everything else that leads to your lack of success right now. It can be this simple, and it doesn't take a lot of work to do the prep. Just make sure you've got something you can execute on and then go and do it.
To make this idea just a little bit more concrete, I asked Jeff to put together a few examples. You can find those at dailysales.tips/117. While you're there, share a couple of the questions that you came up with. Better yet, come back and share your results if you actually do the work and execute on this approach. Then come back tomorrow for another sales tip where we're going to talk about mindset. And if you're getting value from these tips, please do me a favor and tell just 1 friend in sales. They'll thank you for it, and so will I. Thanks for listening.